Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Gaming Goons podcast. We are at another landmark episode number 25. Woo! I am Luke, as always, joined by my faithful co-hosts, Joey and Josh. And we're joined by yet another special guest today, my best friend in the whole wide world, this man, Benjamin Wheeler. Ben, how you feeling today?
How you doing, man? Happy to be on. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be on, man. You guys are doing good stuff.
For anyone listening to this episode, if you know that Ben is on this episode, you know that we're about to talk about sports games, and there's almost no other options because me and Ben talk about sports almost exclusively.
Yes.
So Joey, how you feeling today?
Feeling great. Really ready to talk about sports.
Sport ball. Josh, how we feeling?
I'm feeling good. I'm not a big sports gamer, but I am excited to talk about this subject.
Yeah.
I'm excited to dive deep into the business models behind the games and microtransactions and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Oh boy. Yeah. Oh, microtransactions. Ben, quick question to start us off. How much money lifetime have you spent on VC?
I'm excited to do this episode with you guys today. It's going to be some good stuff. Yeah. No, I'm excited to do this episode. Yeah.
If it makes you feel any better, on Black Ops 3, I spent like $600.
Oh, yeah. I will not speak until my lawyer's in the room. Yeah. I got to have an attorney for this one.
Ben's
Yeah.
taking the fit.
Yeah, no comment.
Fortnite.
Luke has caught me in some down bad nights trying to get some good players in my teams.
It
And
happens
my
to the best
team,
of us.
Pack openings used to be the biggest thing on the face of the planet. I used to come home from school and just turn on pack openings. That's how worthless I was for a couple months.
They were fun, dude. It was like gambling before you turned 21, man.
bad.
Like
That's
13
true.
years
Really
old.
bad.
Yeah.
I feel like they should stop. Okay, so this is NBA 2K, right?
This is NBA, but Madden does the same thing. So both games still
FIFA.
exist.
FIFA
And
does the same
FIFA
thing,
and
too.
MLB.
Yeah.
So
I know we're
I'll
diving
pick for.
kind of deep into it, but you kind of mentioned that it's kind of like gambling for underage kids. I feel like that's. Didn't certain laws come out recently?
Yes,
to
there were certain
limit that?
laws in different countries where they actually prohibited having packs, supply drops, stuff like that. They have to buy
Wow.
it, and there's like a random roll for what you get in those packs. I don't think it's banned in America, obviously, because they are still doing it. So certain
right.
countries definitely have like a ban on that stuff.
Right.
And that's what's messed up. Not to get right into it right now, but like for me, that game is $60. At the end of the year, the average player, I think it's fair to say, probably put $300 in it. So it's not a $60 game. It's about a $300 game. Because if you want to get good fast, you're gonna have to pay money.
Yeah.
So those cards they're cards, right? That you get out of the packs.
Correct. Yeah, that's in one mode. Yeah, but
Can you get those cards with other currency while playing the game?
Correct, but would you rather pay $20 and do it in 5 minutes or 2 months? And I think that's what people do. That's their answer.
Right. I mean, I would agree with.
Right.
I mean, obviously everybody wants it quick right now. I was
Yeah.
just making sure that was like some sort of currency, so it wasn't. I mean, it's still pay to win.
It is,
The
and that
game
is
is
the
pay to
problem,
win.
right? Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the problem, is that it's
epitome.
pay to win. But at least bare minimum, there is a way to get those packs without spending the money, which is good.
Yeah.
Yes, you can grind and you can do it, but like the sheer volume and bulk, it would take. I don't even want to calculate the hours that it would take just for one, $60 pack opening.
All
Way
right.
too long.
Right.
I'll just
back
run
up a
through
little
this
bit.
quick example
Yeah.
for 1 second. This is the grind. And this is all for naught. You'll find out at the end. I bought the game NBA 2K13 after they had already shut down the online servers because I wanted to see. That was my first 2K game. It was like $2 at GameStop. I was a poor kid. I couldn't buy anything. I had no disposable income. So I buy this game and I start putting some time into it. And I grabbed skill points because VC was not a thing because they had shut the servers down. And it took me unsimulated. I ran 4 seasons with the Toronto Raptors. All 82 games, 12-minute quarters, a Hall of Fame difficulty level, including playoffs. 4 full seasons, 82 games, 12-minute quarters. Now, my minutes were regulated a little bit by my coach, but I sat like 4 minutes a game by the end of the run. Okay, so I don't know what that translates to in time. You add in the load times.
I would say over 300 games.
Yeah.
And and thousands of minutes, pretty much.
So it's a long time. And that was just to get my player up to a 99 overall.
Wow.
Now, once I got there, granted, I was averaging 60, 20, and 15, but that's not the
Right.
point.
Yeah.
It took way too long to get there.
Yeah.
That is an absurd.
And if you're
amount of
someone
time.
that's competing against the other guys who can have that disposable income to get their guy up to a 99 off rip, you're just out of the picture. You can't do anything. It doesn't matter how smart you are, how much basketball IQ you have. you are just so underleveled. It's not good. It'd be like you guys spawning into Elden Ring and going to the final boss. I don't know what the final boss is yet. I still haven't got there. But like going to the hardest boss in Elden Ring, but except there's 5 of them, and you have 4 other people that are just your skill level in the party. That's the way I can explain.
I don't know if that's a good comparison.
I don't know, dude.
I think the comparison would
know
be
what you're trying
like
to say.
you buy a pack or something like you spend the time and you grind to like level 400 and then
Veterans
you go straight to
versus-
the boss and it's easy.
Veterans versus amateurs, basically.
Yeah.
But computers. So we're talking
Right.
like, are you talking
Yeah.
like 5 people in Smash that are like level 1 handicap versus like 5 versus 9?
He was just playing the computer. Yeah.
I was playing the computer.
Oh yeah,
But-
that's
but
what I mean.
here's the
Because their
thing.
team was already leveled
Yeah,
up.
right.
If the game is still in live service, which they keep them for what, 3 years after, something like that?
Yeah, right.
So
right.
like 2K, I think 19 is just about to shut down here soon, something like that. That's
Oh,
about
for the
right?
servers? Yeah, it's something
That's
like
such
that.
a
Yeah,
That's
double
interesting.
model.
You
Yeah.
said 3. Because have you ever oh my gosh. Okay, this is getting kind of crazy, but
for
have
it.
you guys seen like a motor or like sinusoidal waves, how they go up and down like that?
Okay, right, yeah.
If you do 3 in a row, there's like peaks like this.
Okay.
Throughout the whole time. It never dips down. That's like the perfect cycle for a motor because you never really drop down too much. But anyway, in a
Yeah.
game, a 3-year life cycle means there's a peak and then it goes down. But the next time the new game comes out, there's a peak and then it goes down. So
Yeah.
it's like always going.
Yeah, right.
It's a cash grab continuously, no matter what. It's like you're throwing a
Exactly.
game out for money.
Exactly.
All right, I'm done.
Exactly.
I'm
That's
done.
That's
exactly.
right.
I think sports games and Call of Duty do it the same exact. Call of
They
Duty
do.
releases the same exact game every single year. People buy it. There's microtransactions in it. But granted, those are like mostly cosmetics now and not like guns. But
Yeah, right.
I would say NBA 2K from my experience. I didn't put any money in it. I bought 2K 17, I think, or 16, and that was the only NBA I played for like minimum 2 hours.
Yes, right.
And I didn't like it really that much. I'm not like big on the gameplay loop of sports games. I just it doesn't fit with me. This is my big complaint with sports games is why play them when I could go outside and play basketball?
Right.
That's my
Yeah.
biggest thing, and I get like people have different viewpoints in that. I just have never been a big fan of them. So I would
Right.
like to hear why you started to like them more than other games.
Yeah.
you
So
got?
I think even growing up, like my gaming style always is I want to play with my friends. I'm not the guy to like get on by myself and grind a campaign, and sports games provide that outlet. Oh, and I love sports as well. So I would say like beginning on the first couple games I played for sports games, like obviously everybody played Wii Sports. I remember
yeah.
Mario Super Sluggers, the baseball game. I don't know if you remember that.
Yep.
Like NBA Live 08, that's when I first started. But my peak was 2K17. And so there's my career and there's my team. My team is when we start off the episode where you buy the cards. But my career is when you can make your own player and then you can make them so good where you're playing other players.
Yeah.
And 2K17 was great because you could get really good in a week. Because there's something called badges. And you have to have Hall of Fame badges if you want to go out and play other players and be good. And it only took a week. Why I stopped? Because when they dropped 2K18, getting Hall of Fame badges went from 1 week to 3 months.
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't want to grind by myself for 3 months. I want to play with my friends now. And okay, I can hop on a party with my boy. I can get my Hall of Fame badges in a week, and we could go out there and play against online people. Then it turned into 3 months. So that was the one thing that kind of made me upset. And secondly, what made 2K17 so great for my career was there was these things called different parks. There was like Sunset, there was like Motor City, and the whole thing was like, oh, let's go to these different parks because you play different kind of players at different parks.
Right.
Totally got rid of that for no reason. And
Quick
everybody
side
loved it.
note, just so people are understanding what Ben's talking about, within the game play loop of my career, which is where you create your own player, play your own games as part of an NBA franchise in a simulated career against AI and other animated teams. You can also go into My Park, which is where you take your My Player that you've created and play against other people online in the parks.
Correct,
So you can
yeah.
play
With their own
anything.
characters.
but-
Correct.
Like pick up ball.
Yes,
I
yeah.
think I've seen
That's a
videos
that's
like
a big thing I've left out. Yeah. No, my career is you can either play NBA games where that's the best place to
Yes.
like improve your overall and get your Hall of Fame badges, and then once you're done playing the actual NBA games, you can then go to the park.
Yeah.
And the best part of my career is going to the park. So that's why I kind of talked about that. That's a huge thing I left out.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure we're clear.
You mentioned a pretty popular thing that a lot of live service models have been doing recently. They introduce you to a game, and then you start out playing by yourself a lot, getting to know the game.
Right.
And then you can then the game opens up, and then you can finally play with your friends and other people. That's kind of how the Lost Ark is. I don't know if you guys have heard of that, or Diablo. You have to go out and like beat the campaign, and then you can do the end game content with your friends. So you have to grind the whole entire game like pretty much by yourself for the most part, and then you can play the game. Then you can enjoy it.
Yeah.
So you have to put all this time up front, like 25, 50 hours of gameplay, without anybody else.
Yeah.
So that's like immediate turnoff for me for those kind of games. Mostly like not just for sports, but for like Lost Ark in general. You have to do this whole entire thing and you by yourself.
See, I'm okay with the solo aspect of gaming. I actually have been starting to prefer it over multiplayer because a lot of my friends are not moving away from gaming, but we just don't have as much time because of school, work, all this other stuff.
So
I like going back to my apartment and just being able to play by myself and just being able to relax.
Right.
And I get your point where it's like, I want to play with my friends because that is obviously some of the best memories you have of video games is playing with your buddies, but I totally understand that aspect.
For me, watching a movie, but for you, you're kind of like playing by yourself is a movie or like your kind of entertainment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But for video games, for me, it was always play with my friends. But to go back to your point about Diablo, where you have to play 25, 50 hours to then play with your friends. So 2K17 was really cool. Luke was saying 12 minutes Hall of Fame was what he played. You could do 12 minutes on rookie mode. It'd be the easiest way to get the Hall of Fame badges I talked about.
It is. Grind it out real quick.
And an NBA season's 82 games. And 2K does do a good job. It mirrors real NBA. I only played 15 games.
Yeah.
Because I put in, to get to our main point, $60 on VC. And you can bring your 60 overall to a minimum 85 with VC that you bought. And then you get the Hall of Fame badges, and then you're good. So you're really not playing the campaign. You're really not playing the season. I played 15 games and played with my boys. And the new 2Ks, you had to play all 82 games to get the Hall of Fame badges.
And
that's why I stopped.
Recently?
Yes. You couldn't play 15 games and be able to play with your friends.
Without spending money to skip.
You would have to pay money and play 82 games if you wanted to play with your friends and be good. You could play with your friends immediately, but you'd be awful and it would not be fun.
Right. Yeah.
And that's what I love that's why the following year, 2K18, that's what I keep on going to.
Falls off.
You had to play 82 games to get your Hall of Fame badges. You had to pay money, and it took a while before you were good enough to play with your friends and like have fun.
Like learning the mechanics wise and being good at the game itself.
Your players overall.
So you're like you already pretty much know how to play the game from like 18 to 19, let's say, because the mechanics haven't changed too much. So you're really trying to boost your character stats to be in the game.
Correct.
Like to do that, you have to play and grind to get the stats up.
Exactly.
An exponential amount to be competitive online.
Yeah.
The core mechanics of the game stay the same because it's basketball. You can't change anything about basketball, otherwise it wouldn't be 2K. It would just be some other sport. What they can do is add new ways to have those mechanics implemented through your controller. So in 2013 or 2K13, the new feature of that year was the dribble stick. You can use your right stick to do crossovers, behind the back, spin moves. Those were all options. Before that, they didn't have that. There was a different set of button inputs you had to do for each individual dribble move. Once you fast forward to 2K17, they have the shot stick, where you can just hold down on the stick and that'll charge you up for a jump shot. Or if you're going towards the rim, you can hold down instead of X, you'll go in for a layup or a dunk, depending if your character has certain stats.
Yeah, and that's the main core is like, for my career, you have a different build. Like, obviously, just like basketball, do you want to be a point guard or a center? You want to be able to shoot threes or dunk? But let's just say if you played 2K18 for 162 games, you're a 99 overall, and you start off as a 60 when you first get in the game, it would be no fun for me. It would be no fun. And that's what 2K18, it required you to play 162 games for me to be able to play you if you were a 99. And that's what I love about 2K17 was you could get to higher overalls quickly with the Hall of Fame badges. So instead of 6 months before I could play a 99 overall like you, it could be a couple weeks. And that's why I loved it, because it was, let's get to the fun stuff as quick as possible.
So Ben, do me a favor, explain just a little bit what badges are.
So like, so in 2K17, my peak, like that, like, I was a center that could shoot threes. So you have shooting badges, like, just like basketball, like
Corner
catch
specialist.
and shoot. You're good from the corner. You're good from, you know, you could do pick and pop. You know what I mean? Just like simple basketball stuff. And you start off as bronze, and then silver, and then gold, and amethyst. Like, just like Call of Duty, where, like, you know, for your gun ratings, you know, you start at a 1, and then you go to a 20. It's the same thing with, like, 2K, with the badges and the overall. So that's the best way I can put it, is your badges depended on what your build was.
Yeah.
And something that the badges do is they level up certain attributes of your character. So my go-to in 2K17...
it's like a stat boost?
Yeah,
correct.
Effectively.
So, like, you get let's say +1 points all well-rounded or anywhere.
Correct.
Or, like, let's say you're better shooting in the corner, you get 3 points for shooting threes or something like that.
Correct.
So, you know, we have the overall rating that goes on a scale of 65 or 55 is the lowest. to
When you
99.
start the game, 65 is like your base. That's when you
Yeah.
start.
Why is it not 0?
Is
it a
Because
scale
you can't
of
be
1 to
trash,
100,
bro.
though?
Like,
It is a scale
that
from
bad.
65 to 99.
So, like,
to
if
be
you
honest.
pick, let's just say a center versus a point guard, because I honestly don't know sports.
No,
that
you're
well.
good.
Is that even logical? What I just
It doesn't
said?
matter.
Okay,
It doesn't-
but like,
Yeah.
if you were to like select their default base stats, the sliders would be different.
yeah.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So the center would be better naturally at shooting threes. The point guard may be better at getting rebounds.
Flip flop. Exactly.
Flip-flop.
Yeah. Like
Whatever.
the big guy's better at getting rebounds. The little guy's better at shooting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
as time's gone on, your customer characterization, your character customization screen has evolved immensely. So it's gone from, instead of just picking, you know, a primary focus and a secondary focus, to now you choose everything from your height to your weight to your wingspan, because all of those things, with a wider wingspan, that increases your block attribute for defense. If you decrease your wingspan, that increases your shooting attributes, because you have to rely more on shooting. If you're taller, your speed goes down, but your power and strength go up. If you're heavier, your strength goes up. So everything that you do, whether you are 210 pounds or 215 pounds, that moves not only your baseline stat, but the cap that you can have that
That's neat.
stat.
Yeah.
And
It's
there's
That's smart.
hundreds
That's a
of
good
different
mechanic.
stats.
Right.
A lot of games you can like customize your guy or whatever, but it doesn't
do
impact
anything.
the game at all. Like
Right.
if you're smaller, your stealth is still the same. If you're 900 million feet, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Well, it's funny. Like, me explaining it to you without it on the screen is hard. But if we fired up the game right now, it's very. They do. I will give them the credit in that it's very easy to figure out.
Yeah.
And it's-
Conceptually, it makes sense.
Well, you also have to incorporate the fact that if you are playing a basketball video game, you've most likely played basketball or watched it at least a
Right.
few times. So you're going to be a little familiar with terminology. Whereas if you get into like a Diablo or a Mass Effect, when I jump into Mass Effect for the first time and they start talking about Omnigel or Metagel, I don't know what that is. If I load into 2K, the first thing I see is like, hey, your mid-range jump shot goes up. I know what that is. I don't need any like exposition
Yeah.
to explain to me
It's
what
not an
the-
unknown system.
Right. Yeah.
yeah, the vernacular is so embedded into basketball culture that anyone who buys the game automatically knows every term or is easily learnable.
Right. Yeah, and that's what I will say. For basketball players, it's very simple. Like, the guy that has a really short wingspan, just like simple physical like knowledge, the guy with the short wingspan is going to get harder to get rebounds than the guy with the big one. And they do a very good job at explaining that. That's what I will say. Even if you don't play basketball and if you're not familiar with sports games, but you want to get into it, they do a very good job at being able for you to understand it. So
Yeah.
that's what I will say they do a very good job at.
That's absolute hats off to them for the customization, because
Yeah.
it allows you to be very well rounded and in depth. Back in 2K13, I was a shooting guard and I was a slasher, which means that you are someone who gets the ball and drives to the hoop. So I didn't have really great shooting numbers, but my cap for my mid and 3-point shooting was still an 85 and a 90 overall. Nowadays, if I am a slasher and I'm not a shooter, the cap for my 3-point shot is going to be at like 70 overall. Because you have to pick and choose. It's a pick your poison. You can't be a slasher and still get to shoot 85%.
You can't be good at everything.
Exactly, right. Yeah, that's exactly like they give you 20 different things, it feels like, where you can make your guy. Like if you said, okay, I want to be able to play great defense. Well, obviously you're going to give up offense. But that's what they do a good job at, is that the different builds have the things that they specialize in. Yeah. Like and like what Luke said, it's great how the defensive guy is not going to be able to shoot threes. But over the 2K years, that's when it became not fun because somehow like people were able to like find a cheat build where the defensive guys could shoot threes and like
meta.
The 7'3" guys could make a half-court shot and score from everywhere. And that's when, for me, that's when it started to not get fun.
Yeah.
When there was people were manipulating the game to where they'd find and playing a boring in a bad play style.
The easiest thing I can liken it to is you guys know how Call of Duty has like 2 guns by the end of each game's life cycle that are the only guns the pros use because they are the most optimized stat-wise.
The meta. Great analogy.
By the end of a 2K cycle, everyone is doing this same exact build because it's the only one you can compete with.
How many characters can you make? Just one?
So as many save files as you want. But
you have to make let's say you have one character, you play your 160 games. What if you want to make a new character? Do you have to do another 160 games?
You have to
transfer
completely
those
restart.
stats over.
You have to completely restart.
Later,
yeah.
There's no incentive to get another character or try a different play style, is there?
And that was what
unless you screw your build up bad.
Oh yeah, but then you have to start over.
And
that's
that's
like re-rolling your stats.
Exactly.
But you can't have one. Can you actually like not have 2 characters at the same time, or can you actually like have?
You could have. There's point guard, shooting guard, small forward, power forward, center, and each build has 10 different variations. You could have 300 different characters if you want. You'd never leave the house and never
all
eat.
At the same
but
time,
right,
all at the same time.
Yes.
Like you can say, okay, let's say I'm going to play on Joe Schmo, and the other day I'm going to play on Bobby.
Right.
So, yeah.
What do you think, Josh?
What do you mean? I was listening to you.
Right.
What do you think? Like, you can have as many save files from my players as you want. So, like Legend of Zelda, you can typically have 3 save files. You can have 300 save files in 2K, and you can have 25 point guards, 25 shooting guards, 25 centers, 25 power forwards, and 25 small forwards.
That I don't think you should be able to do. So
no one does it.
There's 5 positions in basketball. So
one of each.
I would say you'd be able to have one of each and then be able to customize where that player goes or where that specific, like if you want to play center, you have just one center character, but you can change the attributes of that one character where you want to go.
Yeah, and that I think that's what's cool. Like you could do a center where it's like I want him to shoot threes, and you'll make a center and be like I just want him to play defense, and you can do that. But kind of getting to the point was you were saying, wow, that would take forever. Yeah, that's why I stopped because 2K17 was great that you could make 20 characters and you'd have to grind, but it'd be fun. But as the 2Ks went on, you couldn't do that, and it would require months and hours, countless hours. And for me personally, and for a lot of other people, it's like I don't want to put that many hours into it.
Yeah. So my biggest question is, how do the 2K games change every year? Why do they release a game every year? Is it due to the seasons and the players, or is it because it's obviously they're releasing it for a cash grab? We know that. But on a technical level, are they really changing anything?
So that's a great question. The answer is simply no. Yeah. And that's another reason why and I know this episode kind of sounds like I'm like kind of slandering it a little bit, but I think it's fair to say, and I think a lot of other people would agree, it is the same game every year. Like, just like in real life, if a player gets traded or a player gets signed or a player gets cut, they'll put them on their team and all that. And they'll tweak some little stuff where the shot meter will be a different color and the dribble move will be a little different, but it's the same game every year. And the people at 2K would hate to hear you say that, but you asked 100 players, is it the same game as it was last year? 90% of them would be like, yeah, it's the same exact game.
Yeah, they make very minuscule changes, and the biggest change they make every year is they change the rosters. And all that does is every single player in the league gets a new 2K rating, and that's actually kind of like a big thing on social media. They just dropped Wemby's Wemby's initial, what he 85?
Yeah. So that's what's cool too, is
as a rookie.
They'll change your rating to how you are in real life. So, like, depending on how good you play, you can get your rating boosted or lowered. Not your my career, obviously, because you're not in the NBA. But, if LeBron's playing well, he'll get higher. If he's playing bad, he'll get lower. So, and that's the only thing they do. And if you're really into that, that's great. But if I think that's what the problem was. They are so focused on graphics and the rosters and how cool they look instead of, like, they went away from stuff that made their game great.
So I know that a big thing in I think the game's called ESPN 2K5, the Madden football game.
Yes,
I don't think it's Madden, but people say that was the peak,
right?
Because they put a lot of heart and soul into it, and they said the graphics are fantastic, but they're literally just pixels. Came out in 2004, 2005.
Right.
And people loved it. It's not about the graphics. I want developers to know that it's not about the graphics. It's about the game.
And a lot of
games,
games,
the developers' fault sometimes. To be fair,
I mean, when you have
there.
EA and this big of a developer, they know, and it's definitely their fault because they need to take into account the players of the video games. I was gonna say players, but then you wouldn't know if I was talking about
No, but that's really funny you say that because like Madden 24, like they are like this is our make or break year, the one that just came out last night because of like what you said, like because like people are getting sick of it. Like we don't care that the graphics look cool. Like we want the game to actually be good.
Yeah.
Like I don't care if his sweat looks cool coming off his, like so.
That's
yeah.
true.
So yeah, go ahead.
Is this on Steam?
What?
Are any of these games on Steam?
They're available
Can you
everywhere.
check Steam and see what the most recent rating is on Steam for the football version and 2K?
Yeah.
You look up the rating because I have peak players right now.
Great.
So
Well,
2K23 is out. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
So
and they're about to drop 2K24 here in a month.
in the last 30 days, there's an average peak of 22,000 players.
Okay.
In the last 30 days.
What's the all-time?
It actually doesn't even give an all-time. It says, but from what I'm looking at, it says peak players is 58,000.
Right.
Can you
Which is not
On
good.
where? Steam?
No, this is on active
Everything.
player.
Look up
.io.
Steam concurrent players for NBA 2K.
Well,
23.
I did some research actually before I came because this is a kind of like backs my point. Like 2K17 had, I believe, 8 or 9 million in sales. Then the next year it went up because 2K17 was so great, so they thought 2K18 was going to be good. Well, it wasn't, so then it goes back down. But 2K20 was really good, but that doesn't count because COVID was happening and people are finding stuff to do.
Yeah.
But if you looked at a graph, the sales go down. I don't think it's as much as it should because there's people that love sports games and they'll play it no matter what, no matter how bad, just like Call of Duty, just like any other game. I hear nothing but bad things about Call of Duty.
Yeah.
But people will continue to play it because they love playing Call of Duty. And that's the same thing with Madden and 2K. It doesn't matter what product they put out. So.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue that I go in with games nowadays is that they just want to have a cash grab. Like Call of Duty wasn't even supposed to have a game this year. They said it was just going to be a 2-year life cycle of the previous game. But then they're like, oh my gosh, now Modern Warfare 3 is going to come out. And everybody's like, just focus on the next game.
Right.
Take a break, figure out what you want to do with the franchise, and go from there. Hear what the players want and what they think would be best for the game. So I'm looking at the Steam chart.
Yeah.
And it says all-time peak 3 months ago was 60,000, 59,000. But I don't think that this is a Steam game. I think the casual player will be on console.
It's a console.
Yeah, I don't
100%.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
So,
right.
like, if you have a
just wanted to
PC,
get a
I
feeling
do not
for it.
think you're going to be playing NBA.
Yeah.
You're going to be playing, like, the high tier.
So let's say Xbox and
games.
PlayStation together. Let's say Xbox has 100,000 and then PS4 had another 100,000 at the same time. So you could probably say it was around like 200 to 300,000 peak. Does that sound right?
Probably.
Yeah.
Maybe.
No, right.
Something like that.
But I think
that's decent.
2K23 sold over 11 million units.
Yeah.
So
Their sales are pretty good.
they're
But
good,
I think,
but
are they buying the game or are they buying the people that are in the game? Are they paying for LeBron? Or who are they paying for? Like, you know, when Kobe was on the front cover, when all the, like everything happened.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Yeah, like you get money for that. If
No,
you're-
I'm just saying-
right.
I'm just
I want to
saying, you know what I mean?
specify though, this is another cash grab because there are 2 different cover athletes every single year. There is the standard NBA 2K cover athlete. This past year for 2023, it was Devin Booker, and then there is a Legends edition that costs $100 at its base form, and it comes with a few extra like cosmetics, and I think you get like 50,000 VC to start.
Right. Yeah.
It's $100 as opposed to the 70 they charge for the base game. And they have a different cover athlete. So like 2K, I think 19, it was who was on the cover of 19? Was it Kyrie?
That's a great question. I believe
Kyrie was 18.
Yes,
Because PG
yeah.
was 17, Kyrie was 18.
It's always like the
Yeah,
Hawks player.
you get paid if you're on the cover. I guarantee. You
yeah.
get paid.
Well,
Absolutely.
It's good advertisement for them.
Yeah, I know.
So,
Right.
So 2018, Kyrie Irving was on the cover of the base game. But if you bought the Legends edition, you had Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
And so there's 2 different people getting on the cover every single time.
Right.
And that's just a means to... It's like buying the standard edition, the gold edition, the premium edition of like XCOM or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That just stinks.
But it's funny, kind of going back to the sales conversation, is that I don't think that these gaming community, like 2K and EA, they feel the hit after the game comes out and they realize that their players are dropping. Their sales are still great, obviously, but like halfway through the year, the game will drop because they realize. But I think a good example of it is like growing up, there was like a community of 2K, and it was really strong. They were on YouTube, and they were awesome. Nobody plays it anymore, and I think that's a really prime example as well. Is maybe they don't see it in the sales, but the community is really upset. But obviously, they don't care. They just want the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I would like to see a good twist on a basketball game, but as like an indie game developer, like see what kind of mechanics they can make, because I feel like the way things are going now is there's these AAA games, but the indie games are doing wild, crazy good right now.
They are
wild.
Yeah,
and I think we're actually going to talk about. We actually talked about this already. The time you guys are hearing about this, but of AAA games and all this stuff like that, because that's in episode 24. But anyway, yeah, it's wild what they're doing.
And that's a great point as well, because 2K nor Madden has any competition out there.
Right.
They have no other guys that are going to make a football or basketball game.
I mean, NBA Live.
Right, and that's the only competition.
Exactly. You don't know what that is.
And it's bad. So
it's terrible.
I think that is the issue, unlike other games like, the games that you mentioned, like Diablo, Mass Effect, Call of Duty, like every other game that isn't a sports game. They have other games like to compete with, like shoot 'em up games. They have competition. Sports games have no competition.
Right.
There's never going to be somebody that takes over EA. There's never going to be somebody that takes over 2K. And I think they realize that, and they realize that no matter what I put out, there's going to be a collection of people that play it. No matter what.
So how do you think that EA and 2K can improve on their games and bring back that fan base that kind of rejected it, like yourself?
Yeah, I would say the microtransactions is a really big thing. I think that, kind of like what we talked about at the beginning of the episode, the game's not $60, the game's $300. And I think if they could continue every year to become a good team without having to put real money into it, I think you'll get players back from that. And I think a big thing is like going back to the stuff that everybody loved. For example, when I told you guys for my career, you go to the park. The park is where you play with their friends. And they had those 3 separate playgrounds. They don't have that anymore. Why not? I think every 2K player that's ever played would say that's when it was peak. They do not have that? I don't know. I just think it's listening to the community. I think it's microtransaction. I think it's bringing back the old parks in 2K. I think for Madden and 2K as well is like make it realistic as well. Make the game realistic to real life. Because 2K and Madden are now having a problem where guys are doing stuff in games and people are getting pissed off to where it's like, he's not doing that. Like, for example, for football, you played football, and you played football.
Yep.
Like, corners are picking off a ball when they don't even see it come out of the quarterback's hand. Like, that's really, that's goofy, really bad. Like, and I think players get pissed off, and they'll just be like, I'm not playing. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, this isn't realistic.
Yeah.
So I'd say that's my big 3 is microtransactions. I would say listen to the community of stuff they want to bring back, and I think it's make it realistic. Like, if it's a jump ball between a 6'5" wide receiver and a 5'9" corner, like, I think the 6'5" guy has a higher chance to get it. And Madden does not reward that very well. For 2K, same thing. Like, I don't want to see some random that put in 10,000 hours in the game, 7'5" center be able to shoot threes. Because that's not realistic. Nobody's doing that in the NBA.
Right.
So I think that's the big thing. So
Wemby might start it.
Yeah, he might start it. Yeah, that's for another. Yeah,
I got 2 things I want to say.
Yeah.
Number one, do you ever, at least when you play, was there a hacker issue at all?
No, they did a pretty good job about that.
That's good.
Yeah.
You played on the console, right?
Yeah.
PlayStation.
Yes,
okay.
I forgot to mention this, but I got into 2K17 because for Christmas, my 8th grade year, I got a PS4. That's when 2K16 was about done, and 2K17 was coming up. So I was exclusively PS4. No, hacking was not a problem. When a player made somebody really good, you'd call that hacking. No, there was no legitimate, now, there's bugs. The bugs are really bad. And you could see that on Twitter right now. Like, Madden 24, they released last night, and you couldn't play online.
They had a beta version out or something like that?
No, the actual game was dropping. Yeah, last night.
Couldn't even, the servers were down?
Yes.
They were overwhelmed or something?
Yes. The bugs and the servers are get really bad. That is the one problem. Yeah. And I don't know how you fix that, but I think it's safe to say, like, if you don't have top-tier Wi-Fi and top-tier routing and all that, like, you're going to struggle. Yeah, and
which is why I'm a prime example of this. When I was in high school, I had internet that was like
dial-up.
Yeah, pretty much. I was living.
Luke was playing on McDonald's Wi-Fi.
I was waiting for the Pony Express to take my information to New York and then back.
Yeah.
And it took like 6 to 8 business days for me to download a 30-gigabyte game.
I found it. This is my funniest story. When I got 2K17 on the PS4, your normal 4 or 5 hours for the game to download. I remember I saw Luke on Monday. I was like, he bought the game on Sunday. I was like, you got it yet? He's like, no, not yet. Tuesday. I'm like, did it load? He's like, no, not yet. It was Thursday until the game loaded on his TV because his Wi-Fi was so bad. Yeah, and I'm like countless hours in right now, and he's like watching it like go 1% every 2 hours.
Oh my!
That's my funniest story ever. Yeah.
One more thing I want to mention. You mentioned that there was a feature in the game that they took out, and they just for some reason won't put it back in the game.
Yeah.
Every time I think of what somebody says like that, I always think of Forge mode and Firefight and Halo. Those are the two best game modes that everybody always asks for, and they never bring them back.
I don't know why developers always do that. They remove what the community loves, and then they're like, "Oh, but this is a great change," and then the community is like, "No, that was why we played the game."
It's actually really common right now. Because if you look at fast food places, like let's just say
Nacho
Taco
fries.
Bell, the nacho fries and the naked chicken chips. When are they coming back? Oh, like when it does really good because they have it, and then when it drops off, they take it away.
Because that is
or Tarkov wipes. And that new players come back, or they release a new 2K,
right?
And people come back.
Right.
So this, I mean, it's a whole marketing scheme, is limited time things, and what I think they might start going in this direction where they release My Park as a limited time for like 3 months. You have to go play it, and it only comes back at certain times. Like Luke said with the nacho fries, they want you to go get it because they're.
I did not foreshadow a Taco Bell analogy, but I know exactly what you mean.
They're there for a month, and it's FOMO, fear of missing out. You want to go get them, so they get you to go get them because they know that they're going to be gone, but you don't know that.
Right.
So it's a whole thing.
Well, I would agree with you about the limited time thing, but they haven't brought back the separate parks in 2K in 7 years. So it's right. Exactly.
I'm saying, like, if they do go in that route, I could see them doing that so that they get more players to. Fortnite does it too with the Battle Pass. It's like, if you want this cool character, you have to play it now.
Right.
Well, Fortnite,
and it's not going to be there.
Fortnite takes stuff and they put it in the vault, right? So like, there's certain weapons you can't play with anymore.
Well, you can still. They're still in the game and like the playground and stuff like that, but not like the base battle royale.
You can't jump into
good for them for doing
game.
that, though.
Yeah,
good for them for doing that.
I would say so as well.
I wish you could double pump still.
No, shut up.
Okay. The thing with Fortnite though is they do bring back those things periodically, and it's like, hey, you want to play with a hunting rifle again? You get 3 weeks or 6 weeks,
Because they're bringing nostalgia back into it. Because they're bringing the old guns from the prime Fortnite, and that's what makes me angry.
Which brings me.
I will say, if you guys do
Fortnite,
if you guys do an episode about Fortnite, I would get on.
We could do like 18 episodes on Fortnite because of how much.
It'd be like an 8-hour discussion, like a live stream.
It would. I would say.
Episode 2 is on Fortnite, but it's more so of a social commentary on Fortnite rather than the actual mechanics.
We'll definitely revisit Fortnite and at its prime and all of that.
But I will say, like, going back to and you're exactly right, like when you brought up Halo, like, why don't they bring back Forge mode? Like, it's so ironic because it's like the people that are buying your game want this to be back, and it would make you more money, and you're not doing it. Like, that is so, like,
backwards.
How does that make sense? I don't know how that doesn't make sense.
That's why I think sometimes, I think the developers know that, and they understand that, because they built the game at a different time, and now a lot of these overhead people, like, late stage capitalism, give me money.
Right.
You know, kind of something like that.
Yeah, I understand, developers having a vision. I understand them having, like, I know indie games have a sole vision, and they're like, this is the game, but then the community reacts to it, and they're like, okay, but let's try to do this and tweak it a little bit so it fits what you want, but also what our vision is.
Yeah.
AAA games and EA, Ubisoft, all these big companies, they don't have a vision. They have greed.
Right.
And that is the main problem, because you'll see unfinished games all the time, but you know what's not unfinished in the game? The marketplace.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah,
that's all they care about.
Yeah,
and that's the hard part of that.
And it's so weird, and like, not to be like conspiracy or whatever. It's like are they not doing it because they realize that people are gonna play their game regardless? So they like what you said, like for the marketplace, it's not finished, or for like the parks, they don't put it in the game. Is that because it's going to take more hours and they don't want to do it? Because they know that people are going to play anyway. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, that's true.
Know.
That's true.
Right. It's like, they're going to play my game anyway. This might take a couple more hours, a couple more months, a couple more weeks to do. I'm just not doing it because I might lose I might lose some sales a little bit, but like kind of what I talked about, you're going to get those guys that come back no matter what. Yeah. And I think that's like the diehard players left, but
they have a stranglehold.
Not the diehard players are still there, but the people that like actually want to play the game,
right?
Of course, for the gameplay, are gone.
Yeah.
So
and it's such a. I'll mention Fortnite one more time. It's such a shame, kind of what Josh was saying. This money grab, because the artists in Fortnite are so talented. Like when you buy new skins, like you would want to buy them because they look nice.
Yeah, it's impressive.
But then like that's kind of the problem with it.
Yeah.
But man, the artist is so talented. I kind of feel for him a little
bit.
bit.
But at least in that, it's not pay to win. It's not random. You know what you're getting, and you're buying what you want.
True.
Exactly.
So Fortnite did it decent at least.
Fortnite did it great. Anything that does it that way is great, in my opinion.
Quick shout out to Fortnite. They just installed and included Jujutsu Kaisen skins, so you can now play as the characters from that show. I don't know if my despair keeps growing as they continue to collaborate with more, because there's nothing that's avoided Fortnite anymore.
Yeah.
But I think it's neat. You know, every
neat,
time, like Naruto pulling up with the 9, it's kind of cool.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I can't lie.
But
It's cool.
as they expand, you know, they just keep finding new things to collab with. And I mean, we might get to a point where there's no franchise that has not done a collab.
That's why Fortnite's alive, though.
Yeah.
This, in my opinion.
Is it okay? I don't want to touch on this too much.
Yeah, I don't know.
For anyone who's listening,
Questions
we're
for later.
recording this episode before the next two, but you'll hear the next two before this one. But
Our timeline's terrible.
It's a little
we'll
off.
get it out to you.
But I would like to say that I think over collaborating is hurting the game immensely right now. Because when Fortnite, and I think it was 2018, when they did the Thanos event with the Avengers, that was a big collab.
Huge.
On YouTube, it has like 22 million views, and now their biggest collab was Star Wars with only 1 million views. So they release like a collab every month, so it gets draining. It's like
It's not special no more.
It's not special
right?
anymore.
Yeah, it's not special anymore.
It's like
the
more you collab, there's no collaboration,
Right.
Because
Yeah.
there's nothing to
They're
look
just
forward
like
to.
beating a dead horse, so to speak.
Yeah,
It's the
they're just
same
releasing
thing.
it.
It's the same thing as giving a standing ovation to the end of a musical theater production. If you stand for every single thing, your standing ovation means nothing.
Yeah.
If you only stand for one out of every 55 shows that you go to, it means something. And especially for the people who made it, the people who put it together. When I'm on stage doing a show, if I see people standing up, nowadays, I'm like, okay, cool. Everyone just stands nowadays. I don't really feel any extra... like positivity from a standing ovation as opposed to just regular applause. But when I did a show back in 2015, I did Les Miserables. We finished the show and we got a standing O every single night. And that was one of the best feelings that I've ever felt, because I knew in my mind at that moment that everyone was standing because we blew their socks off. Because we made them want to get out of their seat and clap because it was just that good.
Right.
It wasn't a feeling of obligation. Oh, other people are standing, so I'm going to stand. We made people enjoy it so much that they got out of their seat. And it's the same thing with collabs. It's like, if you collab with so many people, you know, every collab loses a little bit more meaning, because it's supposed to be a privilege, not like a guarantee.
Yeah, it was special.
Yeah, like that's what was so cool. Like when that whole Thanos thing was happening in Fortnite, you were like, "Wait, what?" Like my favorite character of all time, like in the game. But now it's like every week, it's like, "Oh, my favorite show was on there, and my favorite TV, and my favorite movie, and my
like
favorite
expected at
series."
this
It's
point.
right. So it's like that's a very good point. Is that like that's what made it so special? You're like, this doesn't even make sense. Like he's in this game.
Yeah.
Now Star Wars and Marvel and you know
got everything.
Everything.
It's every-
is
I remember
everything.
when they would trend online. Like, you know, the one event where it was like the first season was over or whatever, and they're like everything online was like Fortnite's done,
Okay.
Fortnite's dead. Like there's nothing you log on.
We
there's
have to
nothing
save
there.
that for another
I'm sorry,
episode, because that was crazy.
Yeah.
I have so much to talk
tie-in,
about that.
You can play as Giannis in Fortnite, can't you?
right.
You can play as
you probably
NBA
can.
NBA players have deals with Fortnite, and you can play as them in Fortnite.
You can play as Mr. Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I want to tie in Fortnite back to 2K. Because, for example, Fortnite, you can put $1,000 into skins. Those will always be there. You put $1,000 into 2K, nobody's going to be playing it next year.
Yep.
And that is another big reason why I stopped. It was like, it's an like that game's an investment, and I didn't want to pay $400 for a game every year. And you could pay no money. There is a way that you could pay no money. You don't need to do the microtransactions.
Yeah.
But triple the hours of work you'll have to do. And if you just want to play with your friends and have fun, you gotta pay more than $60.
Not the spot
So
for you.
You gotta pay more than the game's worth.
Would a big change be this currency that you can get normally be like quadrupled? So like when I don't know how like the system works.
We're talking about like inflation going down, like things cost less in the game.
So okay, I'm gonna use my terms so that I kind of get it. Let's say a pack costs 100, whatever the virtual VC.
Yeah.
And you can get VC through playing one NBA game, but you get like 40.
Right.
Increasing how much you get per what you do instead
Yeah.
of having to spend so much money on this.
Yeah.
Would that be a good change to go in that route?
Absolutely. I totally agree. Where it's like it's more attainable to, because a really fun night with your boys would do a pack opening.
Yeah.
That would be actual money. If you did, we could do a pack opening and not pay $60, but we played 3 games. I think that'd be a great way. I totally agree with you. Where you can get get people back into it.
It's kind of like Siege.
Go for it.
So you can earn VC by playing the game or by using money.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem, because I'm going to say Rainbow Six Siege, you have the R6
Renown.
credits and you have Renown.
Oh, yeah.
You can only earn Renown through, that's how you get your packs. So people save up for so long, they open like 100 packs or something like that. Or you can buy them, but it costs a lot more money.
Yeah.
But also
but
with-
mixing the currencies together, it's like, now I can buy everything I want and not do anything.
Talking about mixing the currencies together, this is really interesting. So for 2K, you had My Team and My Career. My Career was exclusively VC.
Yep.
The only way that you upgraded your player was through VC. And you would earn VC in the games, like what you said, like kind of going back to like the games. You could earn VC in the games, which you would then use to upgrade your player. But to the moral of the whole point, it's 1,000 games. My team has something called My Team Points, where you can buy cards on the market. My Team is like FIFA and Madden's, where it's like you buy actual real life players' cards and build your own team.
And so you're not controlling one player; you're controlling the entire team. in
You're
this
playing a
mode.
team, yeah.
So if you have like Rajon Rondo as your point guard and you dribble up the court, you pass to the right, you might be passing to Klay Thompson, and then you might feed into the post to Anthony Davis.
Yeah, just like
3 players,
yeah.
3 different teams, but they're on your My Team because you have their card.
Yeah, that's exactly like any sports game you play it how you normally play it. That's how My Team is. But this is where it gets messed up.
Yeah.
My Team for packs, you have to use VC, which you have to pay for. Then those cards transfer into, if you sell them on the market, you don't sell them for VC, you sell them for My Team points.
Oh.
So you have to continuously keep spending money to get My Team points faster. What the heck?
Yeah.
What year was that? Which one was that?
All of them are like
All
that.
of them?
Everyone.
Every
the
single
heck?
one. Yeah.
There's more. So
no.
here's the thing. So when you open packs at the start of each game's life cycle, this is going to branch off into a side story that me and Ben had a common experience with.
Oh, no.
Thank you, Siri.
Oh, Siri wants her input.
Sorry,
yeah.
everyone.
Yeah.
But when they drop the new game, they don't release 99 overall cards immediately. So when 2K17 came out, it was like 2 weeks after I was over at Ben's house, and he was like, "Man, let's open some packs." So he dropped $20 on VC. We jumped in, we start opening packs, and we see a card with a color that's not gold. Okay, so the cards go in 2017, I believe. Bronze, silver, gold, emerald, sapphire, ruby, opal, diamond, pink diamond.
Yeah, that's
something
That's
like
a
that.
rarity?
Jeez.
Yes, that's
Why are
rarity.
there so many?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
because,
what-
because this.
Yeah.
So when we opened those packs, the highest card out at that point was an 85 overall LeBron James. As the life cycle of the game goes forward, they release more cards progressively, and they get a higher rating closer to 99. We were freaking out because Ben had just pulled an emerald card that was an 82 overall. And that was so rare at that point that was very valuable. 2 months later, the same card that would have gotten him probably like 16,000 My Team points on the auction block.
Yeah.
2 months later, that same card's going for 200 MT points on the auction block because the devalue of the card.
Yeah.
Because there's better cards releasing all the time.
That's the messed up part. If you want to compete, sorry to interrupt. If you want to compete on my team the first week, you got to pay for cards, and the highest card will be 85. Well, guess what? The highest card is a month from now. It's a 90. Guess what? The best card is a month from that. It's a 93. So
that's like the life cycle of the game, though.
Yes, and
like the more time people play, the more. I mean, your guy's gonna be better because you're playing anyway. So like you get a guy at 82 right when the game comes out. That's crazy because nobody has that. But like 5
that's
months
for my
later,
team.
Everybody might have that.
Yes.
Right, exactly.
Think of it like this: if you jump into a Call of Duty game and you're unlocking camos and you get to the gold camo for one of your guns, right? You have that gold camo. It's not going to go away. The value, you have like the prestige of knowing that you got this gun gold. Then you level up to diamond. You got the whole assault rifle class or whole SMG class done. That still stays. Imagine if everyone cared about getting gold for a week, and then the very next week it had no value, no one cared, there's no prestige associated with it, and it all goes away. Everything that you just spent hours upon hours working for, or actual money to acquire, gone. Within a week of you buying it.
That's just not right when you compare it to actual real money.
Right, right. That's the problem is like, the game drops in October. Highest card in October is an 85, and you're freaking out when you pull it, and you just dropped $60 on a pack opening. Well, guess what? A month from now, I'm going to tell you, dude, Joey, I got an 85 overall card. He's like, yeah, that's nothing now. Because now they have a 90, and now they have and that's the problem.
That's not
a
good system.
No, it's not.
Especially because you use real money, because in the beginning, if it's good, it's going to be good. But then no matter what, that it'll always go down.
Exactly.
Like, it's not like, it might go back up again.
No,
like, let's say he was doing good and they updated the card and he got better stats, or it could be like stock market related.
Right. But that's not in my team.
That's not on my team. So my team, you get different cards for the same player.
Yeah. Sounds like a bunch of mumbo jumbo.
Right, yeah, right.
So they'll do special occasions over the course of the year. So they'll do like an MVP pack release. And then they'll have every MVP from the last 15 years as a possible card draw. So you might get, like 2008 Kobe, 2008 MVP Kobe, or you might pull 2001 MVP AI, or you might get 2015 MVP Steph. And those cards are all like 95, 91, 92. But then if you pull Steph Curry in his rookie season, he's only an 82. Or if you pull AI in his last season with the Nuggets, then he's like a 75.
And that's what it's compared to real life as well, where it's like, if he's bad during that time, he'll be bad. Yeah. If he's good in that time, he'll be, he'll be good.
So you can pull the same players 7 different times and get 7 different rated cards of the same player.
And ironically, which is interesting, for that mode in my team, in Madden, in all the games actually, in MLB, in Madden, in FIFA, in 2K, the NHL, best time to play my team, because every single game has one of those, is at the end of the year.
Yep.
Because they're getting ready for their next game.
Like dirt cheap.
All the 99s are out, and they're dirt cheap.
Wow.
Which is, again, really weird. Instead of you, like, for any other game in the planet, like, you want to play it when it first comes out, guys are like, I'm going to play the game at the end of the year, because it's going to be $5 to buy the actual game, and then all the cards will be really good. It's just, like, so wacky.
Do that.
Right.
But if you do that, you only get a month out of the game, and then they release the new one, and no one's playing the old one again.
Right. Yeah. So it's
just a trap. There's absolutely nothing good about the money system in this game.
I don't even understand how diehard fans would want to play it. Well, legally, but I don't understand how this game has even 2 players.
I think it's because people really enjoy sports. Like, they really enjoy basketball, and they want to play a basketball game, and whatever's newest.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, widely available.
There's tons of people that love basketball, but also love to save their money.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why he stopped playing the game.
I know, which is why he's smart. I don't understand why people are still playing it.
Well, you have to think it's content creators too. Like, that's sometimes they're. Well, this is.
But I bet they're not even getting
anymore.
They're probably not even getting a lot of views anymore because the player base is dropping off. They don't even care about the content.
And when I was growing up, the content creators for 2K were awesome.
All over
like
the place.
there was like
Call of Duty.
And Call of Duty, had like FaZe, like we had like a 2K. There was a 2K house. Like anybody that plays 2K, like Cash Nasty was his name. He's on YouTube. Like Chris London, Jesser. Like I grew up watching those guys. I would play 2K all day and then watch their videos. Well, those guys fell off because, like what you exactly said, it's just the content creators fell off because they just realized like this game stinks and like I'm not. I'm not doing this anymore. You know,
Yeah.
and there's
which sucks for content creators.
It does.
Because like you base your whole channel around this one game, and then it falls off after 5 years. And it's like, now what do I do?
It's funny. All the guys that I watched, all 10 of those guys that I started off that were playing 2K.
They playing Fortnite now?
They're not playing.
Oh.
I don't even know what they're playing. They're not. But I can tell you what, they're not playing 2K.
I bet.
100% they're not playing that game.
Which kind of sucks because it would be good if they did, and because developers listen to content creators way too much.
Yeah.
But it would be good if they could keep voicing their opinion so that they would be the voice for the majority. Which would be good because I see, like, developers for Fortnite listen to Ninja, Tfue, Dr. Disrespect way too much. They don't listen to, like, the casuals pretty much. And they have a bigger voice, but they give input that is good because they know it's what the community wants.
Yeah.
I still think that even if they don't play it, they should be like, hey, I stopped playing. They should upload a video and be like, hey, I stopped playing this game because of this. And then
And they do.
They do.
And
okay.
they do. Yeah.
So that's good.
Yeah.
And then the developers still don't make changes, I'm assuming.
They don't care.
Which
No.
is just EA.
Yeah.
EA
is notoriously very
Sucks.
horrible when it comes to microtransactions.
EA's
Yeah.
the worst for microtransactions.
Yeah. And ironically,
makes me angry.
Ironically, I think the kind of gamer that you want to actually reach out to is the casual, because there's millions of them, and it says, "Hey, what can I get you to come back and play this game?"
Yeah.
Those diehard content creators and those diehard basketball fans, it could be garbage, and they'll still come back and play it. How do you get the casual guy to come play? For example, we were talking about this either Fortnite. I knew people that didn't even play video games that would find a way to play Fortnite.
Right.
Yeah.
Get your casual players back in.
We had guys in study hall that would bring a PS4 controller. They didn't even own a PS4. They would buy a PS4 controller
And play on mobile?
come to play mobile games in study hall at high school with their PS4
Right,
controller.
yeah.
It's
That's
because
a-
they wanted to play
yeah.
Fortnite on mobile.
That's a great point, Josh. Is how do you get your casual players back? The diehards are going to be there. How do
I
you get
have
the
an
casual
answer.
players back?
Okay, there's two prime motivations for why people, I believe, play sports games. Okay, one, the biggest motivation that I think is a legitimate reason is to learn. If you're trying to learn something about a game, playing basketball games or playing Madden or playing something, you can
That's
learn
fair.
so much about the technicalities of the game, how it operates, what play calling in Madden to do, how to operate on sign stealing, stuff like that in the show. If you want to run plays, you want to learn different offenses, see how different people work in conjunction with each other. There is so much valuable information to be learned from sports games. That is number one. Number two, people play sports games because they are able to do things in the sport game that they cannot physically do in real life.
Right. Yeah.
That's also weird
If you're
there.
playing as Tyreek Hill
Yeah,
in
like
Madden,
little- right.
you can run across the field in like 6 seconds.
Yeah.
No one can do that.
Right. Yeah.
If I want to go dunk on 3 dudes throwing a windmill East Bay dunk down on 5 guys,
Doing the musty on them.
it's never going to happen in real life. But if I play 2K, I can do that. And I can freak out when I do it because it's still cool, regardless if it was physically me doing it or if it was me on a controller
That's
doing
neat.
it.
Right.
True.
Yeah. And no,
So-
and that's what I'll say too is that, and I told you guys before, it's funny, like, people watching this episode are like, man, all they're doing is like slandering, like, the sports.
Which that
sports
is
community.
okay. I want to point out. I think
Yeah.
you should 100% critique. There's this thing in the game community where people think you should not critique games because it's
it.
like it's all the developers. I completely disagree with that.
Right.
But
Yeah.
anyways, continue.
Yeah. And I just think, like, for people watching this episode, they're going to be like, gee, well, like, this is, like, all he's doing is slandering the game, and all it is negative. But I think I speak for the majority, and I will 100% say that I speak for the majority, is that they're not a lot of players are playing it. All my friends don't play. I don't play. Nobody's playing anymore for all the reasons that we talked about during this episode. And
Right.
I know it comes across as negative, but I think it's a real issue, is that people aren't playing. All the top 30 YouTubers that were content creators for 2K 5 years ago, none of them are playing it now.
Right.
Non-existent.
That says something, really. That
The,
holds
the
weight.
franchise
Yeah.
is just in a terrible spot.
Yeah, right.
Terrible.
Right. And I think that it's going to have to do a lot more. They're not going to have to kind of feel it in their pockets. They're going to have to feel it a lot. And again, I know this comes off as negative, but seriously, I don't play it anymore. My friends don't play it anymore. My friends' friends that I play with don't play it anymore.
Yeah.
The people I watch on YouTube don't play it anymore. So,
I mean-
it's a real thing.
Most
So.
of our boys just go hoop. We just go play.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of getting on the game, it's like why waste our money and our time when we can just go actually play basketball?
That was my critique of the game.
Yeah.
And it's something to be said of like I talked about learning and how you can familiarize yourself with a game. That only takes you so far. Once you've learned all you have to learn from 2K, you have to actually put that into practice if you want to keep growing in your knowledge of basketball. You have to start studying film. You have to start studying particular situations that players have been in before. There's plenty of content on YouTube for that. It's not 2K.
Yes, and that's a really good point. And I think that comes back to get them in the butt, though, because 2K and Madden, I think, over the years has gotten incredibly sweaty. And it's gotten so sweaty and so hard to where, like, you can't just casually play a sports game with your boy.
Not possible.
Like, that's a problem with it as well, is that you can't just be like, oh, let's fire up Madden. Like, if you and I played Madden right now, you've never played, you'd start to get pissed off. Like, that's, like, you can't just, like, relaxingly play that game.
That's a problem with like Call of Duty that I played with Luke.
100% can vouch for this. We were at your house. We were spending the night, and I was playing 2K against Jamon. Jamon played a lot of hours of, not 2K, Madden.
Yeah.
And I played like 2 games of Madden in my life before. Jamon's calling audibles. He's doing shifts with his receivers. He's calling audibles, timeouts, doing all this jazz. I've played football in real life. I don't know what it's like to be a quarterback.
Yeah, right.
Okay,
yeah.
He's making all these adjustments. I'm just sitting here playing nose tackle.
Yeah, right.
And then I don't get a sack because that's just not the way it's built.
Yeah.
Because it wouldn't be a fun game if you could get a sack easily.
Ironically, it's incredibly sweaty, but then there is, like, not glitches, but, like, it's not as realistic as it should be, and then there's animations. Where it's like,
dude,
it's like that's just like not, yeah.
There are some
not only is it
animations-
sweaty, it's not realistic.
There are some animations in 2K guaranteed make every single time.
Yeah, right.
Like, I have played games against my brother in this basement that if he goes up for a layup and I see like the jelly animation go, I don't care if there's 16 guys on top of him. That is a nothing but net switch.
Yeah.
Have you seen the Family Guy episode on that?
Yeah.
The
He's
corner
on the three. Yeah, right.
It's
yeah.
like, yeah, dude, that is just
Yeah.
the goofiest. That's a really funny episode.
And yeah.
And speaking of playing against your friends, there comes a point where that's not even fun anymore.
Yeah, it's like,
And I was
if it's not fun,
you
not
beat me
playing
to it. And that's when you really know the game is not bad. Because
It's not good.
if
yeah.
one of my friends has the new 2K, for some reason one of them does, out of the 30 that used to play, one of them does, and you play it with them, and once the game's over, I'm like, I don't think I had fun.
This
And
was
even
not
the guy
fun.
that
No.
won is like, yeah, that wasn't really
This was
fun.
kinda
Because
trash,
it's
man.
so sweaty, like I said, and then it's not realistic. So you're like having to adjust a game that doesn't feel like real life, and you're working your ass off. You know what I mean? It's just so weird. It's so weird.
Yeah. I want to call back one more story. I think a sophomore year of high school, we were over at our buddy Carmen's house, and we were playing NBA 2K late night.
Shout out Carmen.
Shout out to Carmen. But we were playing 2K late night, and it was me versus Ben. I was playing with the 2013 Miami Heat. He was playing with the 08-09 Celtics. Both of these teams won the championships in their respective years. You can play with historical teams. That's a small detail we missed earlier. But it's down to it. End of the fourth quarter. We got one shot. I come down with Mario Chalmers, who's like the worst of the starting 5 on that roster. And I come back, and I'm about to pass the ball to LeBron. But I don't, because I see Rajon Rondo slough off and go double down in the post against Chris Bosh for absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
I pull up for a 3 with Mario Chalmers, green it, swish it, game's over. Ben is livid because it was completely out of his control that he lost that game.
Right.
That sucks.
Yeah.
He wasn't playing as Rajon Rondo. He was guarding LeBron James.
Yeah.
Which he should do because LeBron's the best player. There was no doubt that I was going to pass it until the AI shifted down. I made a quick adjustment, and I won the game because of a defect in the defensive rotations of the game.
Exactly.
Or
yeah.
is it RNG?
Yes.
Yeah. No, and that's the problem, kind of going back to the unrealistic point, is that there's no stuff
situation.
in all these sports games now with 2K and Madden, and they literally, Madden made it a point to fix it this year because people are getting so pissed because it's like, that's not happening in real life.
No,
and
never.
You can lose games and lose points and lose shots and all that and miss shots over stuff where it's like, there's nothing I can do about that. There's nothing I can do about that. And that's the whole beauty of gaming, is that you can do whatever you want to do with your player in any respective game. And in 2K and in Madden, there's like, yeah, not only can that's out of my control, but that's not even realistic. You know,
I was
so.
playing 2K13 at one point, and I was playing with the Lakers, and their like third string point guard Jody Meeks came on, and I didn't know anything about Jody Meeks. I pulled up from 6 feet behind the stripe, and I laced 4 straight threes with Jody Meeks, who's like a 62 overall.
Right. Yeah.
That should never happen.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
It will never happen ever. And it happened because 2K's busted.
Right.
And it has been since 2013, but it's just gotten progressively worse and more noticeable.
Yeah.
Rip.
So,
Big
but
rip.
no, absolutely. I think the core of this whole episode is that, you know, I have gone away from sports gaming. I could see a future where I do go back, but a lot of things would have to happen if I do go back. But most importantly, they're not as fun as they used to be. The developers don't listen to their community. And I think it's safe to say that the gameplay is not what it used to be, and players are just like, I'm done doing it. And the microtransactions and the 10 other things we talked about. So
Yeah.
Very understandable.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Right.
What a shame, though. You know.
it's you know, I look back on that, and they were really great times. They're some of like the most memorable times I remember with my boys is playing those games. And I think it'd be very easy to go back to how that game used to be. And they're not doing it. And I don't know why. Just like Call of Duty, and the same issue that they're having is you can go back to how it used to be. And people would play, and they're not doing it. I don't know why. And you get mad at first, and then you're just saying, you know what? I just won't play.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are doing that. So it's very interesting. Very interesting thing about
We got some closing thoughts ready to go?
Yeah, I just think it's not a good franchise anymore, and what it used to be is it's definitely not that. So overall, franchise-wise, I'm going to give it to Rotten Blueberries out of 58 million buttered pancakes.
Cool.
Wow,
Joey.
horrible.
Terrible.
I think I pretty much said what I needed to say. I've never really played too much of the games for myself, but I do remember, at least in high school for me, a little bit before that, a lot of hype when people would be ready for the next release,
right,
kind of like how the
right.
Call of Duties were.
Right.
Now the Call of Duties there's not so much hype. Now the NBAs and 2Ks or whatever you want to call them, they don't have too much hype. I don't really hear about that hype anymore.
Right.
So it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you being on. It was a good time.
I really,
Thank you for
I'm
being
happy
here.
for being
It's
on.
a lot of
guys.
good
I
insight.
appreciate that. Thank
Closing
you.
thoughts?
Yeah, I just think the main thing is I think the door's not completely closed. I could go back to a sports gaming. I could get the new console, but a lot of things would have to happen, and all the things that we talked about need to get fixed. And if they don't, I won't go back. That's just the best way I can put it.
If the game was good enough, would you buy a whole new console for it?
And like kind of like the beginning of the episode is I'm relying on my friends.
Yeah,
Like
right.
if my 5 best friends that I always play 2K with, or my 5 closest friends I always play Madden with, are all playing, and they're all saying, "Dude, it's really good,"
You're hopping on.
I would do it.
Yeah.
But no one's playing it.
Right.
And you know, so what's that was just me. Is I'm relying on my friends, and if they're not playing, I'm not playing. So yeah, that's the best way
One
I
more
can put
comment. I think the next stage for them to take it to is to make a VR game for 2K.
it. There is a VR
That
Madden
would be
game.
sick.
There's a
Really?
VR Madden game, and
That's the
you can play as the
quarterback one, right?
quarterback.
Yeah.
It does look really cool. I will say that.
We
yeah.
will talk about VR. I
Yeah.
promise, guys.
Yeah.
We will
Yeah,
get
VR's
there.
coming up.
Yeah.
We will
It's in
get
the
there.
books.
Yeah.
All right. I will give this franchise the state of the franchise right now. It's the most brutal rating I've given. I'm giving this a 65 overall. It is the base level. That is
Yeah,
it. That's
right.
all I can do. I can't give you anything more than that, 2K. You've seemed to try to run your franchise into the ground for such a long time, and no one's putting up with it anymore. So, all right, before we get out of here, I do want to just mention this real quick. I was supposed to say this at the beginning, but I forgot, so we're going to do it right now. If you guys really enjoy hearing Ben talk, which I do, I think he's a great addition to the show, and I will
appreciate
definitely
that.
have him on again soon.
I appreciate
But
that. Thank you.
if you want to hear Ben talk about sports and not in a video game capacity, he actually has a show that he runs himself called The White Lightning Podcast. Ben.
Yeah, so if you like the NFL, if you like the NBA, current events, what's going on, it's called the White Lightning Podcast, like what Luke said. The summer been's hard because there's not a lot of sports going on, but football season coming back, the NFL's starting up.
We can back up.
And I'm excited to really get into it. So if you love the NBA, if you love the NFL, the White Lightning Podcast is a great channel. Go check that stuff out.
And if you love hot takes, Ben's always got some of those cookings.
I get pretty fired up. I don't have my edge for video gaming. There wasn't no spitting on the mic and calling somebody an idiot for this one, but yeah, White Lightning Podcast. I won't be afraid to call somebody out. So
And you're on YouTube. You have a TikTok.
I'm on YouTube. I'm on Spotify, and I'm on TikTok. That's my big 3. Yeah. So
Good
it's
stuff.
White Lightning Podcast. It's just a lightning bolt, though, so it's like, yeah.
Not two.
Doesn't stick out,
not two,
right?
just one.
Yeah, not two, right, just one.
So we will link Ben's show in the description of this episode, and hopefully you guys go check him out. I personally have been a guest on his show once or twice,
Yes,
so
yeah.
if you want to go check out some of our discussions about NBA free agency this past summer, we discussed that quite a bit. So this has been episode 25 of the Gaming Goons podcast. I am Luke, as always, joined by Joey and Josh, and our special guest for the day, Benjamin Wheeler, host of the White Lightning podcast. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you for listening. Ben, thanks for coming on the show. We really appreciate it. And shout out to Australia. 3% of our viewers are now officially from
That is really cool.
So that is
That's
really
really
cool.
cool.
And also, one last bit of quick housekeeping. This is probably going to be iterated on a couple other episodes up to this point, but we have already crossed, in a time span of less than 6 months, we have crossed 1,000 plays conglomerate over Spotify, Stitcher, and Apple Podcasts. So big time moves, big time stuff for the gaming.
Congratulations.
Goons. And we're going to keep rolling. We're going to keep getting bigger, and hopefully we'll get some more merch in.
Like and subscribe.
We've got a lot of cool things stored, and we can't wait to have you on the journey with us. So thank you.
Follow, and we'll see you next time.
Later, Game Goons.
See you.
Have a good week.